Right, so we meet again. So today we'll be talking about security audit, our security audit assignment 4. So we are from group 6. So over here we have myself, Seng, we have Yue Hin, and we have Harshini. Right, so we'll be talking about the ethics on trail. Right, so these are just scenarios where we will have to decide whether it is ethical or not from a security audit point of view. So first thing first, right? So I would say this assignment explores how we can apply ethical principles in real world auditing situations under the ISACA Code of Ethics. Right. So as professionals in this field, in the auditing field, we are expected to uphold certain principles like integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, competence, and of course our professional behavior. So of course, these principles are not just theoretical, they're not on paper, right? They serve as a guide when to guide us on how we're supposed to handle real challenges, especially in the face of real pressure and also real dilemmas. So of course, in the following slides, which we will be working through later, which so the first two scenarios that I'll be talking about will be one where it involves the misuse of customer data, and the other where one is about pressuring the peer pressure to alter audit reports. Right? So of course, these situations may seem familiar in the workplace because all these things actually do happen in modern world. So it is important to understand how we can respond this ethically to protect to protect the organization, ourselves, and of course the audit profession. So let's take a look at our first scenario, right? It's topic data for sale. So in this first scenario, we are faced with a situation where a company is considering selling customers' data to raise funds for cybersecurity improvement. So, of course, at first, when you think about it, it might seem harmless, right? So we're just raising money. The company just wants to raise money to improve their cybersecurity, their tech infrastructure, right? So, especially if this data is masked or if this data is anonymized, right? It doesn't really matter, right? But it is actually a serious ethical red flag, right? Why? Because over here we talked about confidentiality, right? Because even though if this data are anonymized, they can sometimes be tracked, paid. They might sometimes be able to be traced back to the actual person who owns this information, right? And selling it without consent will breach certain privacy laws and legislation rules depending on which country we are in, right? So we talk about integrity also. Right? So this suggests taking shortcuts for financial gain rather than doing what's right. Right. So it's a gray area. So it's borderline illegal, right? To go and sell customer data to try and raise money to do things this way, right? So of course there are other ways to raise money, right? So depending on the company, they can sell their assets, they can cut their profit margins and whatnot. Right? And of course, for us, we have to be objective also. Right? We have to. So because this suggestion comes from a financial pressure for the company, but of course for us, rather than comply with such standards, we have to stick to the hard rules. Right? So of course, we would say selling customer data without permission violates trust. And as auditors and consultants, it's our duty to speak up when such proposals arise. Right? So what do we say, right? So is it a violation? So of course, yes, this is a violation. This scenario is clearly a violation of our ethical standards. Right? So even if the data is being anonymized or masked, sharing it or selling it without consent goes against the privacy principles between the company and also the users, right? And of course, we haven't even bring in GDPR and PDPA data privacy rules yet. Right? So what should we do in this case? Right? So of course, in this case, we would have to raise this concern with higher management or the data protection officer, or maybe even a higher up, right? And for us, we would maybe advise this company and say, this is a bad idea. This is very risky. It is borderline illegal, And we could suggest alternative ways of funding. So, for example, we can go and look for government grants. We can try to reallocate our budgets, or we can look for partnerships somewhere else. Right. So, of course, if these issues were to be ignored, right, or worst case, if let's say we agree with this company and they get caught, so this organization will, of course, face very serious lawsuits. They'll get very heavy fines. They get very heavy penalized by the governments, and of course, people and public trust would be eroded. Right, people will not trust this company anymore. Right, and on top of that, ISACA certification holders such as us, right, if we don't do anything about it, it will be very unethical to both to our practice and also to our professional standing. Right. So let's take a look at our second scenario, right? It is a so in this case, it's topic friendly favor. Right? So it is a very common dilemma, right? So not just outside of, right, not just within the auditing industry, but also out of it, right? So as internal auditors, or also as consultants, sometimes we are asked to leave out negative findings, right, from our report, just to help out the IT team, right? Like, friend, like that, and say, leave it out, I'll fix it later, right? So this scenario tests three core principles of our ethics, right? So objectivity. So when someone close with us, or let's say our very good friend, asks us to change the report, right? So based on our judgment, do we want to please our friend, or do we do what is right, right? And report what our findings are truthfully? Integrity, right? So we talk about always being honest, because if we were to omit these findings out, then we will be dishonest, right? We will have no integrity. And we talk about professional behavior, right? So if we really were to follow the hard rules of auditing standards, then we have to report the facts, right? We have to report what we find, and our aim is not to protect departments. Our aim is not to protect our friends or individuals, right? But rather to report what is right, right? So of course, as humans, we can empathize with them, but again, our responsibility comes first, and that is to uphold our ethical and professional standards, right? To be always complete, accurate, and transparent. So again, what do we say about this, right? So of course, this is a very clear violation, very clear ethical violation. So of course, the request to hide or delay reporting of these flaws creates a false sense of security, right, for our friend there, right? So of course, what's the most ethical response, right? So of course, we have to report all our findings. We have to acknowledge that yes, we understand the IT team will fix this in the future, but as of now, I have to be honest, I have to be fair, I have to report all our findings, right? So what will happen if I actually were to work with my friend and say, okay, I help you once, right? What will happen, right? So of course, we will face major consequences if a breach occurs later, right? So between now and later, time of fixing, let's say a data breach occurs, responsibility will fall on us, right, for not reporting this risk. Right? So of course, our personality, our professional integrity, and also our own integrity will be questioned. Right? People will start to doubt us, and the auditing and also the university could suffer reputational damage. Right? They could suffer financial loss, and of course, worse, they might face further audits and also legal actions. Right? So of course, as future auditors, these kind of pressures are always very real, and we have to be always ready to handle them with correct ethics. Okay.
Hi, I am Yue Hin, and I will be presenting the scenario 3 with the topic certification shortcut. In this scenario, an auditor falsely claimed that to have a certified information system auditor certification on his resume. These misrepresentations of the certifications help the firms to win a major clients. When confronting, he casually replied that I will pass the examination soon anyway and get the certifications. It is just a paperwork. And the ethical principle that involved is objectivity. Uh, as an auditor, we should report the truth regardless of our colleagues or closely colleagues and avoid misleading any informations. And the second is the integrity. Integrity is honesty is the key principle, and misrepresenting the qualification is unethical. For the third one is competence. Professional certification should only be claimed when actually obtains through the certified body. Uh, okay. Is this a validation? Yes, absolutely. Because it will damage the reputations of the firms and also the personal integrity. It is a serious ethical breach. And as a peer, we have to take the actions to report the incidents to our superiors, compliance team, and also senior management for the further actions. And the firm should immediately take the actions to remove and exclude this employee from the involvement of the client project to protect the firm's integrities and also the reputations. What if we if ignore and didn't report to any relevant parties? This will cause the serious consequences for the auditors. His professional reputations could be damaged if the uh, professional certified body find out. Uh, they might ban the person from getting the certifications. For the company perspective, it could lose the client trust, especially if the certifications was required for the project. This could lead to the legal troubles and also even penalty for the regulations. This will tarnish the reputations of the firm.
So I will discuss about the scenario 4, which is social media sleep, and what ethical issues are raised by the post. So first of it is data confidentiality has been breached. By just posting a picture without client details, it still can be considered as exposing sensitive information. Example, the network configurations, labels, and etc. Secondly is violation of organization's policy. Most of the companies has standard policy against sharing their company's information, example their server rooms or any network devices. Thirdly is professionalism. This action where where the team lead posts the picture, this action leads to damaging the trust and professional relationship. Second is which ISACA code principles are involved. Okay, firstly, principle 1, which is professional competence, being aware that work related content that is being shared. Not all the posts, not all the content are able to be shared in a social media. Secondly is principle 2, professionalism and diligence. Member of the audit team has to perform their task with diligence, and they must avoid publicly criticizing their customers' resources. Third, confidentiality and privacy. Ensure that the team member has to protect information during the auditing and not to disclose any information apart from the team. Thirdly, should any action be taken? Yes. If yes, by whom? Action should be taken by the team lead. So the post should be removed immediately to avoid any potential legal risk. And the second person who is involved will be the HR. The HR should verify the post if any policies were violated. um, Lastly would be how could this be have been handled professionally. First, avoid taking pictures in confidential or sensitive areas such as the server rooms or areas that has content that has any network devices or network devices and server rooms or data centers. Secondly, seek approval from the dedicated team before posting the images. And lastly, use a general image instead of focusing on the server room or focusing on the data centers or network devices. A general image will be fine. That's all from scenario 4.
Okay. This slide shows the summary of the ethical pressure in each scenario. For the first scenario, data for sales, the ethical pressure to sell the client confident data to for the operation purpose to fund the cybersecurity upgrades. It is the unethical actions with the good intentions. And for the second scenario, is the pressure to assist the client to hide certain important findings that could impact the client to get the fund uh, during the fund review. The conflict will be as the auditor will help the clients to in the findings, but it will and at the same time also have to add with the integrities. Then for the third scenario is the certification shortcut. It's the pressure to demonstrate the higher competence to win the client project by falsify claim the certifications. But it is for the firm benefit. Then as a peer, it is a pressure, ethical pressure to remain as the silent uh, and to avoid any workplace conflict. Then for the fourth scenario is the pressure to gain recognitions on the social media by posting the client's workplace without safeguarding any client's confidential information.
There are 4 lessons learned from the scenarios. First of it is uphold ethical principle to safeguard the interests of both the firm and also the client. Secondly, a strong ethical culture is the foundation of the auditor's fiduciary duty. Third, avoid short-term gains that compromises ethics and focus on long-term consequences. Fourth will be seek support from senior management or supervisors when facing any ethical dilemmas.
All right. So that wraps up our ethics on trail assignment. All right. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you everyone for participating in this assignment. Thank you very much.